Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here today with my week of reading. You may have noticed that I wasn't able to get to it last week. I had to travel out of town and just was too busy, wasn't able to make this video. So this will be a catch up for both weeks. So let's get started. I read a few really great things in the past week, 2 weeks. The first two books are part of a trilogy, and I've just binged on them. They are Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy series. So the first two books, the first one is The Assassin's Apprentice, and then the second one is The Royal Assassin. Now, my interest had been piqued about these books because number one, I've seen it all over BookTube. But Leo from a Little Book Life had done a video where he showed his favorite sci-fi and fantasy books, and this was a set of them. And the way he talked about the Fritz, the main character, was just so loving, and talking about his dog, and I just needed something that was very different, that was something I could just kind of dive into. After reading a lot of works in translation last month, there was just a lot of heaviness in material, and so I wanted something a little escapist, and it absolutely fit the bill. Wonderful, wonderful series. Characters are really great. The setting's fantastic. The challenges, as you would expect in a fantasy novel, of a young boy. Bildungsroman is really, they're all there for you. Plus, lovely dogs that are great companions. So I highly recommend The Assassin's Apprentice, which is his younger years and the start of his training. Fritz, the main character, has some nascent skills that are being tapped into, and he is being asked to pledge himself to the royalty, even though he is the bastard son of a duke that has passed away, who was the heir to the throne. And so he is being told that to maintain a place at court, he needs to pledge his loyalty and work for the court. So he is trained as an assassin. Very interesting premise for a young boy, and what are the conflicts that come along with that. So the first one is The Assassin's Apprentice. The second one is Royal Assassin, where he starts to take on the work that he had been training for in the previous book. And the court intrigue gets a little more complicated. He's understanding a little bit more. He's clearer about what's happening, and he's playing a more active role. And they're animals, and that's always great. So Robin Hobb, really like those. I'll be trying to find the third soon. I did audio for both of those, and I really enjoyed the audio experience. Very immersive. The narrator was fantastic. So I'll try to see if I can follow it up with the third one in audio form. Then, just in time, today is the big premiere in the United States of the movie for the Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. So I'll be filming my last check-in for the last section today, putting that up, and then I'm going to see the film tonight. I have very low expectations. I've heard it's really bad, so it's fine. I'm not worried about that. It'll just be more interesting to see how did the director choose to bring these characters to life, and what worked and what didn't. So I'm just planning to have fun with it. I will say that in the reread, this is a second reading, and I'm looking at it differently now. I see much more of the construction and what she was trying to do. And I see all the Dickens references through it, which I saw, but not at the same level. And I have a better appreciation. The things that don't work for me really don't work now, but there's some sections that I look at differently. Specifically, I thought that most of the book was set in Vegas. In retrospect, it was just because I hated the Vegas section so much that it took over my memory of what the book was comprised of. Now I still think that they could have used a little editing in that section, but I see some more value of what was presented there. So very happy to have done this, and thank you so much for everyone who joined us. The insights that you provided and you shared with us, either in the comments or on the Voxer, if you were able to join the Voxer, have been phenomenal and really helped me to appreciate it in different ways and see different things in the material that I hadn't seen before. So always a great success to have a buddy read or a readathon go in that direction. So thank you very much. And then the last thing that I finished was my number came up in the magical library holds for the audiobook of Big Sky by Kate Atkinson. So this is the 5th Jackson Brodie book. Now, if you've been following along, I did a buddy read last month of A God in Ruins, which was her kind of a companion piece with her Life After Life. Historical fiction set during and after World War II and then up to present day. Very different than her mystery series with Jackson Brodie. And I fell in love so deeply with that book that I wasn't sure how I was going to relate to the Jackson Brodie material. But I really enjoyed it. It was really fun getting back to Jackson. There's been a leap forward in time, and so we're seeing some of the familiar characters of his life. And then, as always, what Kate Atkinson does is she takes these new characters that fit these crimes that he's trying to solve as a private investigator, and we follow their point of view as they're either victimized by or involved in the crime in some way, and it all just kind of pulls together. Her construction is always so fantastic. Her characters are always so interesting. I thought this was going to be a little bit more intense than I like, because it started off really. I got fearful. It started with white slave trade, which makes me uncomfortable. And I don't like horror. I don't like if it's too suspenseful going on horrifying. I draw lines there. I can't do that. The world's already bad enough as it is. I like a little tension, but I don't want to be terrorized by my reading. So I was a little hesitant, but she drew that line very and wrote it very cautiously. So really great, loved it. Gave it 4 stars. Now let's talk about what I'm currently reading. So I'm making my way through Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellmann. This is the gigantic 1,000-page, 8-sentence book that's a meditation of a woman who's in her kitchen baking as she's thinking about the world and thinking about her children and thinking about what's going on. So people are talking about how it's Virginia Woolf meets Ulysses. I'm doing it as a buddy read with my friend Teresa, and then also Sonia from An Enthusiastic Reader. And what's happening is that I need to check in with them, because this is more of an experience than it is a buddy read that you can really talk about. I started thinking about this, and it's almost like you're watching a river move really swiftly past you, and you can see some items in the river. You can see them coming, and then they go. But then there's other stuff coming, and so it's very meditative. You're just along in the stream of what's coming, and so it's more of it's hard to stop at a certain point and talk about it. But we'll see if we can try to do that. So I'm checking in with them shortly. The next thing I'm doing a buddy read with is How to Be Both by Ali Smith. Reading this with 3 really brilliant women. Really excited to do this. This book, Ali Smith is such a brilliant writer that I know that I want to read her books with other people, because number one, sometimes I miss her references because they're very British centric or UK centric, and sometimes I skip over or I miss things. She's someone that a close read is really a well spent endeavor. Her work in this there's 2 timelines. I've only reached the first one, and this is set in the 1500s with a Renaissance artist. It's about the nature of time and art. Beautiful, beautiful passages. The women I'm reading this with are brilliant. They're seeing things that I didn't see. We're going really deeply into some imagery, into some of the passages, and I just, such, I love you, BookTube. Thank you for the gift of connecting me with people who can help me read this in a way that it just enriches everything. So I'll be continuing on with that. I'm also reading from my In Real Life book club, A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley. This is part of our National Book Award shortlist reading. And I've read 2 or 3 of the short stories, and we'll continue this. We're meeting next week. Then I found at a used bookstore this fantastic book. I think I've mentioned before that I have a obsession with the Mitford Sisters. They are 6 sisters that have diverged into splintered, different, polar opposite lives. I did a whole video of them early on when I first joined BookTube. But this is a book of their communications to each other. There is biting, sharp wit at play. They also have their own language. They have nicknames for people. They also are in conflict with each other at different parts, because Nancy is a writer. Diana became a fascist. Unity became a Nazi and befriended Hitler. Then we have Diana, who became a duchess. We have Pamela, who I think just was a farmer, but of course, of the aristocracy. And then we have the last Mitford sister, who became Jessica, who became a communist. So what's not to be engrossed with that family about? So really interested in getting into this. This I'm going to be reading very, very slowly, just a chapter a week, because I really want to savor it, and I'm enjoying it so far. And then lastly, or almost lastly, Sidewalks by Valeria Luiselli. So this is the woman that wrote the Lost Children Archive, and she's written some other amazing books that have come out recently. This is a backlist. I found this because of our friend Bert Pastorelli, who is the husband of Shawnee Reads, and every once in a while he'll pop up on her videos, and they do shared discussions about their books. So on Twitter, I saw that Bert was participating in a type of GoFundMe campaign where he offered, for a certain number of value contribution, to do a reading list, a personalized reading list for the person who contributed. And all the contributions were going to support the legal funds for the children that are being held at the southern border, the horror that's being done by my government against migrants trying to flee and look for asylum in the United States. It's a cause I believe very strongly that we need to fight against these horrible policies and to help the children. So I was more than happy to contribute, and then to also support him in the efforts that he was participating in. Thrilled to receive. And so I'll do a whole video. I received the final book of the list this weekend, so I'll be doing the video and expect to see that up soon. And then the very last thing, I was trying to hold out for as long as I could, but I can't hold out for too long when a new Louise Penny book comes out. So this is number 15 in the Armand Gamache mystery series. So this is A Better Man. And Louise Penny writes very quiet, introspective, character-driven murder mysteries. You could say they're cozy, but they're cozy philosophical ones. And this one, she's really coming at you with the concept of global warming and what that means for this village in Canada. We open with the snow from the previous winter is melting at a much faster rate and thawing at a much faster rate than the dams and the rivers can maintain. And there is going to be a potential for a 100-year flood, the likes that they haven't seen in their lifetimes. And at the same time, something catastrophic has happened that is a murder mystery. If you've followed me for a while, you know that this is kind of my sweet spot in reading. I love when multiple catastrophes happen at the same time. Well, I don't love it, but I'm fascinated and I like reading about it. So I'm already intrigued. Very, very comforting to go back to the similar characters that you know. And she just is a great writer. So enjoying it so far very, very much. And look forward to me finishing that one soon. So lots of books, lots of reading. I would love to know what you're reading. What are you doing? Have you read any of the books that I'm currently reading? Have you read anything that I finished? I hope you have a fantastic reading weekend ahead of you. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.